store, man. Nobody calls Han Solo a bitch.
Bring him on. I prefer a straight fight to all this sneaking around.
I don't know where you get your delusions, laser brain.
Oh, come on, bro. It's the wars.
All right. I see the news, and even with as stubborn as I am, I know when it's time to walk it back a little. This is The Wars and More. I'm Joe, and of course with me is my good buddy Doug. Hey Doug, how you doing this week?
Doing pretty good, Joe. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm taken aback a little by the news this week.
Okay.
I had a little bit of a negative reaction to some things we talked about last week.
Ah, I see.
And that seems to be picking up steam. So, okay, maybe I was wrong.
Yeah.
Now, I guess my stubbornness is going to take over a little bit. While it is branching out to more places, it is only saying Ahsoka Tano.
Oh, what's that?
So in case you were wondering what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Last week we talked about an Ahsoka Tano series featuring some characters from Rebels,
Right.
picking up pretty much where Rebels left off.
Right. Yes.
Well, that story is gaining legs, but a lot of the other news sources that are picking this up are kind of saying, well, Fandom Wire is saying that they're taking it further and saying that, Rebels, storyline may be a part of this.
Right.
So they are distancing themselves a little bit from the whole Rebels idea. But a lot of people are picking up on the Ahsoka Tano series.
Yes.
So I've always been for that. But
Yeah.
that Rebels conversation is still creeping in. So
yeah. It's got legs, but it is all rumor. I mean,
it's all rumor.
Yeah.
It's all rumor. But anytime we see this stuff kind of pick up like this,
Yeah.
it's kind of like, maybe there's something to it.
Right. There could be. A lot of times.
I mean, it was easy for me last week to kind of say, yeah, this is BS, right? Like, because we're seeing it from one source last week.
Right.
And it seemed to take an idea that, I had bandied about as would be a good idea. And that had that idea, but it went right to 11 with like carrying on the Rebel storyline.
Right. I got you.
And that's where I was like, yeah, and not saying that the Ahsoka Tano series was my idea. Definitely not my idea.
Right.
That's something that's been talked about within fandom for, I guess since the Clone Wars ended.
Right.
Then it would have been an animated series following Ahsoka Tano. And then with Disney Plus, immediately the fever for an Ahsoka Tano live action series picked up almost right away.
Right. Now, I gotta say, I have been hearing some talk of the quote unquote continuation of the Rebels series being animated still. And, we had that question and answer thing from Dave Filoni last week where he said, well, no, not really. There's no consideration for that. So I
thought about this.
Okay.
He said, they're not really considering continuing Rebels.
Right.
He said there was a story there for, finding Ezra Bridger, things like that. That was something that could be explored.
Yeah.
He didn't say that could be in live action.
Right.
So, I mean, it could be an animated series.
Could be.
But it's not a continuation of Rebels.
Right.
It's not like Rebels the next season. It's
yeah. Or Rebels 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think we're going to get a lot of this. I think we're going to have to wait till The Mandalorian season 2 comes out to actually see what comes of all that, and then move on with our speculation. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's kind of
for the new series,
right?
Star
For the
Wars,
new series,
Lost
right.
Jedi.
I mean, if like let's say our penultimate episode of Mandalorian season 2 has Ahsoka, jumping on her ship with, I think I kind of detailed this little scene out, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
So, right, with Sabine and Bo-Katan and whoever, just making that appearance just at the top of the boarding ramp, and she's like, I got someone I got to go find, and takes off.
They go off with Hera and Chopper and
Right,
Zeb. And,
exactly.
Jason.
Yeah, and Jason, exactly. There better be a Jason running around. Absolutely. But that would lead you to believe, one way or another, animated or live action, that's a story they're planning on telling. Then, as it sits right now, who knows? I mean,
well, as it sits right now, but with the success of the Clone Wars, you gotta think, wow, the fandom really wanted Clone Wars, and look what happened. We made a season 7 of the Clone Wars, and boom.
Yeah, that's for
what
sure.
What about Rebels? Fans are clamoring for Rebels. I mean, cha-ching, right?
Yeah.
Cha-ching. And that's not just, we're not just saying that Clone Wars did well, because to date, the Clone Wars is the most streamed show of 2020.
Yeah, of not like of just Star Wars shows, right? I mean,
no, the most streamed show of 2020.
Right, of Disney Plus?
No. Of everything.
Yeah. Disney Plus,
so number
Netflix,
2,
Hulu. Yeah.
Is The Mandalorian. And just so this don't seem loaded, number 3 is Stranger Things.
Ah, okay. Yeah, different service. Got it. Hey, where's that Tiger show at? I heard that had quite the drop off.
Yeah, it's nowhere in the top now.
Yeah, exactly.
It was sitting at number 3 for a while, apparently.
Right.
I still haven't watched it, by the way.
Yeah, nor have I.
I'm a holdout. And I'm just going to say this. I mean, no offense to anybody that watched it and enjoyed it.
Right.
But to me, that show looks dumb.
Yep. I'm with you.
So, I mean, I've been told by my friends, I thought so too, and then it was really good.
Right.
I've been told this before.
I've been told you need to watch it. You'll love it. It's one of those things that's so stupid, you'll love it. So I'm sorry, but with that kind of a review, I don't know.
That's what people told me about Game of Thrones, and I still didn't like that.
Yeah.
Man, I'm batting 1,000 right now.
Hey, it's all right.
I'm batting 1,000 with the pissing people off comments.
Game of Thrones had its moments, but it also.
Well, I didn't get to it. And like, I even took everybody, like, they're like, oh, you got to get past the first season. I did that.
Yeah.
Still didn't like it.
Right.
Just not my thing. Like, and it really shocks me that I couldn't really get into it because I love fantasy.
Right. Me too.
Lord of the Rings. I guess I just like a different kind of fantasy.
Yep.
That show was just a little too like it tried to be vulgar. Like,
yeah. In a lot of ways, yes.
I mean, like I like The Witcher.
Yeah.
I guess The Witcher has kind of some of the same, tonal ways of doing things. But yeah, I just couldn't get behind it. But we're not talking about Game of Thrones. We're talking about Star Wars.
Right.
And like I said, with those numbers, I mean, the Clone Wars, the animated series, the Clone Wars, being the top streaming show, that's huge. And
Yeah.
Disney's looking at that.
Absolutely, they're looking at that.
The Mandalorian's coming in at number 2. These are the first direct to Disney Plus offerings for Star Wars.
Yeah. And I hate to be this guy, but you know what? No, I don't. I'm going to be this guy. What do those two shows have in common?
What?
Dave Filoni. Thank you very much. Sorry. Don't think that Disney isn't taking note of that too.
Oh, and they should.
They should, absolutely
I
should.
mean, we're coming up on where we're gonna have to change the name of our show to like
Filoni Files.
We love the Filoni Files. Yeah, there you go. I mean, because it seems like week after week we talk about how much we love Dave Filoni.
Well, it's for good reason.
He's not giving us reasons to not do that though. So
right.
The Clone Wars season 7 was just mind-blowingly good.
Yes,
mind-blowingly good. Great.
I would say the final third is the highlight of it. Okay, Bad Batch was phenomenal. What is their name?
Oh,
the
crap.
sisters. Yeah. Anyway,
Yes.
the middle Ahsoka arc was okay. You know what I mean?
It was good.
It wasn't mind blowing. It was good, but the final 4 episodes were everything most Star Wars fans wanted out of it. So
Right. And that middle arc, I think it suffered from like the first, the start of that arc was really good. It was a
Yes.
major slowdown from the Bad Batch,
right.
but it was really good. It was really interesting. You became interested in these new characters. That show from that arc from the middle to the end kind of suffered a little.
Yes.
Not because it wasn't good, but and even at that time we were like, it was good. It was good. But when you look at the Bad Batch arc and the Siege of Mandalore arc, and then watch that in the middle, it's like, yeah, that was just okay.
Yeah.
Because the bookends were unbelievable.
Exactly.
I mean, they almost should have changed that around. Let the Bad Batch be the middle, because you would just had a start, a build, and then a whoa.
Right.
But I guess they wanted to give you a breather in the middle.
Well, I think there's one thing in particular that arc was intending to do, and it did successfully, was point out how the Jedi were viewed by the public at large.
Yeah.
And I think they were successful at that, but I don't think they needed 4 episodes for that,
Right. Well, I know why they did what they did, because that arc pretty much led right in to the Siege of Mandalore.
Right. And I think there was some tweaking on it in order to make that happen, as I understand it. Those little clips with Bo-Katan and stuff, I think those were kind of added.
Okay.
But
but that's the product we got. So that's that arc led right into the Siege of Mandalore. So it kind of makes sense they put it where they did.
Yeah.
So yeah, no complaints. It was good good Clone Wars.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, in comparison to, the series as a whole, it's a good arc.
Yeah.
I mean, the Clone Wars has some standout arcs, right, along the way.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Most of it though it's just good.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
With some really, really great ones. The thing the Clone Wars did really well is it never really suffered. There weren't too many episodes that were just like, oh, I can't watch this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was.
I mean, there were a couple that was like, wow, this is kind of wonky.
Right.
But there were no. I'll say there were no episodes that's like, wow, this is unwatchable.
Right.
For 7 seasons and not have an episode that's like, wow, this is crap, is a really fantastic achievement.
That is true. That is very true.
There are some that were like, yeah, I don't really know why they told that story, but hey, it was fun.
Yeah.
Because I look back on the droids with Gascon, right?
Gascon, yeah.
Those were some wonky episodes.
Yeah, that was a little out there.
A little weird droids roaming around in the, or that was it, Sunny Day in the Void, right?
Yeah, something like that.
It's like, wow, you just made an entire episode about droids in the middle of nowhere.
Right. Which by the way is according to Dave Filoni, like one of, or no, that was actually George who said it. It's one of his favorite episodes.
I can see why George would say that though.
Yes, exactly.
Because it really is. It's out there.
That's the kind of stuff, when he sold Lucasfilm, that's what he said. I'm going to make movies that nobody's going to want to watch. That's what he's into. He's like, no one's going to get to see them. Like, okay, cool. I don't know how much of that he's done, but cool. Do your thing, man.
But look at why George would have enjoyed that episode so much is, droids out in the middle of nowhere. The only way to make that episode interesting is to really create characters out of the droids.
Absolutely.
Right? Really build on their characters. So George likes that. George loves character building.
Well, yeah,
and that's a challenge.
He pioneered that kind of stuff with Kenny Baker and R2-D2 from A New Hope on. I mean, having Kenny Baker inside the trash can that was R2-D2, gave R2-D2 personality, and that was definitely something George was going for. So yes, it falls right in line with your point.
Yep. And just think, spending all that time building characters out of droids is probably what helped create Chopper.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like, wow, we can really do this.
Right.
Then you got Chopper, and Chopper's got that's a character. Yes. You almost feel like you understand what Chopper's saying.
Yeah. I think that's very intentional.
Some of them are like, wow, yeah. Chopper's got a dirty mouth.
Exactly.
No filter on that droid.
Yeah. But I could also see, Star Wars fans, right? We got a lot of Star Wars fans. We've got parents who have subscribed to Disney Plus for Disney movies, right? And, people that got Disney Plus for the Disney movies, the Pixar stuff for their kids, and a lot of people got a lot of time on their hands right now. So maybe they go into maybe they're seeing Clone Wars for the first time. Maybe this is Clone Wars second resurgence, right? Because
it absolutely is.
We had the initial run on Cartoon Network, and then we had the resurgence when it went on to Netflix. Now we're having our second resurgence on Disney Plus. So, which I'm all for, because the more people that get to see this kind of thing, will realize that it's not just Star Wars in cartoon form. It's real Star Wars.
Yeah.
And it's
I mean,
some of
I
the
have a friend who, because of the hype for season 7 of the Clone Wars and the absolute, the discussions of people's mind being absolutely blown with season 7 has actually gotten him to start watching the Clone Wars.
Oh, excellent. That is absolutely what we want to see. Yeah, for sure.
So the Clone Wars is definitely, it's getting new legs again on Disney Plus.
Yes.
And even more people than what jumped on during the Netflix run are jumping on.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So, and you got kids that, were kids for Rebels.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And they're still kids, but
yeah. But you think about it, if they were 8 years old when Rebels started, that means they're what, 13, 14 now.
Right.
Going back to watch the Clone Wars. That's perfect. I mean, that's the perfect age to be watching Clone Wars.
Yeah, and I'll say this: I am in the middle of a Rebels rewatch right now.
Hey, so am I.
And I don't know where some people's criticism about Rebels being a kid show is coming from.
Oh, is there that criticism?
Yeah, it's out there, man.
Oh man.
And I don't know if they're watching the same stuff I'm watching, because apparently not.
Yeah.
Because dude, Rebels is really good.
It is really good.
And watching it again with everything in context, even watching it with, Rogue One in context.
Oh yeah.
It's a series that I have not entirely rewatched yet since my first viewing.
Right.
This is my first full rewatch of Rebels. And yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's
really good storytelling.
Yep.
And Darth Maul's fantastic.
Sam
Witwer's fantastic.
I haven't quite made it to Darth Maul in that yet. My rewatch.
I'm there.
But yeah, I don't know. If there's anything that's like geared towards little kids, it's Resistance. So
yeah, that's
for sure.
Oh, for sure, without a doubt.
Yeah.
All right, so The Mandalorian, right?
Yep.
We talked a lot about everybody's jumping on to be in The Mandalorian.
Well, you can't blame them for that.
Right. But it's not over yet.
Oh, it's not.
It's not over yet. So I'm not too familiar with him, but Timothy Oliphant,
okay,
however you say his last name,
right,
is rumored to be joining the cast of The Mandalorian.
Okay.
And supposedly he has film scenes wearing Boba Fett's Mandalorian armor.
Huh. So this is like a stunt guy or something?
No.
Right.
This would be... I saw what he had been in, and I cannot remember for the life of me what that is. But he was in some show in recent times.
Okay.
That was popular.
Okay.
not one that I watched.
Okay.
But this would be a very expensive stuntman, from what I understand.
I see. Yeah.
So the rumor is,
yes,
that he is playing Cobb Vanth.
Hey, that's the name I couldn't think of last week.
That's the name I couldn't think of last week. So, so here we are.
Yeah, here we are. Oh, yeah.
Thoughts?
Look, I've made it well known on this show how I feel about the Aftermath series of books. Those stories are not good.
One way of putting it.
And okay, so they have these interludes.
I was just gonna say,
Right.
There were stories in there.
Right. Well, there was a main story, and then there's these interludes, which takes you to different planets and completely different story. Different, story arcs and characters. Has nothing to do with the main story. Okay, and this is one of those interludes. This Cobb Vanth character. Apparently, he finds what is, quote unquote, the oh so familiar Mandalorian armor. Okay. Everyone's jumping on this has got to be Boba Fett's armor because it's oh so familiar, right? But it's kind of like acid pitted, so it must have been retrieved by Jawas from the Sarlacc, from the battleground of the Dune Sea battle with Luke, Han, Leia, Lando, and Jabba, right? So these are all assumptions. These are all.
What's funny is that
stretches.
conversation is like, oh, that means Boba's alive. I'm like, no, that means he's been digested and that stuff was regurgitated.
Right. Exactly.
That's where I go with it.
Yes, and which makes the most sense, especially if somebody's, getting his armor off of some Jawas. So, I don't know. I mean, and then if you're going to say that this guy is wearing Boba Fett's armor and then who's Tim Morrison playing? It would have to be Rex then. He'd have to be
Boba
playing.
Fett. He wants his armor back.
Okay, sure.
That's what everybody's saying.
Okay, well, I don't know. Personally, I don't think this is this is just me talking, okay? I don't think there's enough substance behind this character to make him a storyline in The Mandalorian. With everything.
How about this?
Okay.
This guy's in the suit playing Boba Fett.
Okay.
Tim Morrison's just on to voice Boba Fett.
Maybe. Could see that. That is not unprecedented in Star Wars. Because what we have for instance, an example, is Darth Maul. We do not have Ray Park's voice in The Phantom Menace. So,
right. We don't have Ray Park's voice in Solo.
Right. I could see that. That would make Boba Fett and all the clones, their voice consistent.
Yep.
Because, we do know that Tim Morrison went back and re-recorded everything for Empire and Jedi and stuff.
Yep. And I don't necessarily see the importance of taking Boba's helmet off.
Right.
So
I have to say, okay, I know you're not a huge fan of the whole Boba Fett thing in The Mandalorian, but
one way of putting it.
If you're gonna have Boba Fett in The Mandalorian, I like where you're going with this. He doesn't have to take his helmet off. Doesn't have to be, huh?
Nor should he.
Right. And it doesn't have to be like a huge role. It doesn't have to be, all I'm getting at is let's leave some of that quote unquote mystery, the man with no name mystery to Boba Fett.
Well, let's be realistic here. If the armor was all pitted, what did that do to his flesh?
Yeah. Exactly.
If Boba Fett survived this, it's not going to be like Jango Fett under that armor.
Right.
And this is not going to be a character who's going to be very willing to take his helmet off, because he's probably going to look jacked up under there.
Yeah. Probably look more like Vader under the armor.
Especially since we already know that someone else has his armor at some point, which means he became separated from it at some point.
Though. I'm sorry, but in that book, it does not say that's Boba Fett's armor. It says that oh so familiar armor.
Yeah, and oh so familiar means Mandalorian armor. We know what Mandalorian armor looks like.
The only problem is we're assuming it's Boba Fett's because of the Jawas finding it, right?
Yes, and it was pitted.
Okay, and it was pitted. So, okay, maybe it's Boba Fett's armor. I don't know. I have a real hard time with that book series. I was gonna say interlude, and then I was gonna say book. Okay, here, just all of it. That book series, I have a hard time with it.
Because I felt the same way. Because I'm reading a book, and you go off on these. What did they call them? They didn't call them interludes, did they?
Yeah, they were interludes.
Okay.
Yeah,
but like you go off on this interlude, and you read it, and you're like, okay. And then the rest of the book, you're like waiting for it to mean something to the story that you're reading.
Right.
And it never comes.
Right. So the interludes, there were enough of them. You didn't make it through all the books, correct?
Correct.
All right. Okay. So there was enough. There were so many different interludes in each book that you got to revisit them in subsequent books. That's how that worked.
Oh.
Yeah. So there were stories that were kind of rounded out, but really still did not apply to the main story overall. So I just, yeah. If you wanted to write a short story, write a short story. Or make a separate book that's a bunch of short stories. That'd have been great. I don't know. There are a lot of flaws with those books, and personally, I just can't see characters from those books necessarily, them drawing on those characters to enhance Star Wars moving forward. I think this is probably something more like what you were talking about than all of these rumors. I think this is wishful thinking on a particular section of Star Wars fandom.
Yeah, I think this is a symptom of wanting to connect everything.
Right.
So make every piece connect. Like, why would they bring someone else in? And someone said he was wearing Boba Fett's armor. There's got to be a reason for that. He can't be Boba Fett. Tam Morrison is Boba Fett. So we got to make this connection.
Right.
Not even thinking that, like, James Earl Jones never wore Darth Vader's armor.
Exactly.
But he's Darth Vader.
That's right.
Not too many everyday Star Wars fans know who David Prowse even is.
Yeah.
So, I'm just...
I get what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know.
I think you're closer to right on this than most of the rumors we've been seeing. I will say that because it makes more sense. I like where you're going with it. And I don't think that character would contribute to anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, so the reason behind this probably is this guy probably looks more like, who was it in the Boba Fett armor?
Jeremy Bullock.
Jeremy Bullock. I can't believe I blanked on his name. But this guy probably looks more like Jeremy Bullock in the armor
Right.
than Tim Morrison does.
Right. Which would make sense. You know, it would just make sense. Because that portrayal of Boba Fett is, closer to the time of the Mandalorian than, Jango Fett. You get what I'm saying?
Yep.
Not to mention, and I hope no one takes this the wrong way, but I did see Tim Morrison in Aquaman, and I thought, wow, I wonder if he would still be able to fit in that Mando armor. He was wearing a sweater, he was bundled up a little bit, but it was like,
Right.
Okay. Face was filled out a little bit, stuff like that. You get what I mean? It's
Yeah, I mean, Boba Fett was an unaltered clone.
right.
Okay. He may grow differently.
Yeah, true.
He had a different lifestyle.
Yeah.
The clones were very strict on a military lifestyle.
That is true. Yes.
So like he's not going to look like every other clone, and he's not necessarily going to look exactly like Jango.
Right.
He got to age a certain way, or a different way than everyone else, a different way than his father even.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I still hold out hope that he's gonna, they're gonna put some aging makeup on him and he's gonna be playing a 75-year-old Rex. That'd be great.
it'd be more like 90-year-old Rex, but
No, I think it'd be about 75. Doing the math. Double aging.
from the Clone Wars till then.
Yeah. But,
Okay,
you know,
so 75.
yeah, something like that. 75, 80, right in there.
Okay.
But who knows? I just don't think this is going to be Cobb Vanth. If I'm wrong on this, you know, this is going to be my first how would you put it? This is the first time I'll be in fear for what's moving forward in the Mandalorian, if that's the case. So
Yeah, we're saying it's not Cobb Vanth. I think we're the ones being optimistic here.
that's true. That is true.
So, yeah, I don't know. I don't see a reason to bring that character into this show.
Yeah, me neither. If there's anybody that could do it and pull it off, it's Dave. So
Especially since Boba Fett's supposed to have such a minor role. Like, why would you introduce even another character and then this character is going to have a minor role?
Exactly.
Like-
We are running with and with all the Rebels characters that they're talking about. We are running the risk of really muddying up this series.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, I think this guy's in the armor. Tim Morrison's voicing him.
Yep. I think it's a good assessment right there.
And he's never going to take his helmet off. Which, if Boba Fett shows up in this show, I hope he doesn't take his helmet off.
Exactly.
So, those are my thoughts, not yours. Have something to add to the conversation? Or you just want to let us know how we're doing? Email us, show@thewarsandmore.com. That's the best place to get in on the action. But if social media is a little more to your liking, @TheWarsAndMore on Twitter is always a good place to interact with us. And we're also on Facebook, facebook.com/TheWarsAndMore. And of course, your portal to this and everything else, The Wars and More, is thewarsandmore.com. All right, so time to go off of Star Wars for a little bit.
What?
Yep. We're going to do it.
Okay.
We're going to do it. Now, this is going to roll back around into Star Wars, but it's going to take a little bit of time to get there.
Okay.
So, DC fans. I know we have some DC fans that listen.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. That's me, by the way. So
Justice League
yep.
came out to mixed reviews.
Ah, yes. The movie. I see what you're saying.
The movie. Justice League, the movie, came out to mixed reviews.
Okay.
And a following came out of that to release the Snyder Cut.
Yes.
Well, much like we got our prayers answered with the Clone Wars, that following has gotten their prayers answered.
Oh, really?
HBO Max in 2021 will be releasing the Snyder Cut.
Wow, interesting. Okay, I am a DC fan. Unlike Star Wars, I don't get too involved in the behind the scenes doings. I like Batman, I like Superman, right? You know, I read those comics as a younger person, and I like the stories. So what are what is the deal with the Snyder Cut? I mean, so this was
so Zack Snyder he had to step away from the project due to a family tragedy.
okay.
Okay.
Yep.
The movie was finished filming, but was in post-production.
Okay.
They brought in Joss Whedon to finish the film.
Oh.
So there's a lot of speculation from people that and there's even some, insider information that kind of fueled this, that the Zack Snyder cut would have been much different. Mostly tonally.
Okay.
But there was more to it as well. And
More to it as far as a longer movie?
yes.
Okay.
I think whenever there's one of these special cuts, it's like, oh, it was obviously a longer movie.
Right. Yeah. There's 20 minutes of footage that we would we never got to see. Yeah. I got you.
And with another creative mind coming in, you would expect that a lot of stuff might hit the cutting room floor, right? Just
I
different,
can see how
different
that could
vision,
happen.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like someone else, I don't see really where he was going here. They cut it.
I got you.
So I don't know if that's really the case or not. If there's a lot of stuff that was left on the cutting room floor, but a lot of it is people are like, it would have been a much darker film if Zack Snyder would have did it, which is kind of something that DC fans do like.
Yes.
DC does have a habit of, like, especially when you compare it to Marvel, being darker,
Right.
being a little more serious, a little more raw.
Yes.
DC Comics have always been that way. If you watch the DC animated stuff, it's definitely that way.
Yeah. I agree. I agree with that. Here's where I'm having a little I take a little exception with the thought process, though, and I'm not that familiar with what else Zack Snyder's done to have a comparison, but Whedon, he's done some stuff that gets kind of on the darker side a little bit. You look into his history. I'm not talking Marvel.
Right. But okay, so let me see. I mean, Zack Snyder, he does have a little bit of a darker tone to him.
Okay.
Than Joss Whedon does.
Okay.
He did Man of Steel.
Okay.
He did Batman vs Superman.
Right.
I think it was. Oh, he did direct that. So he does have a darker tone to him.
Okay.
I think a lot of people are saying Joss Whedon came in, made Justice League more like an Avengers movie than he did a DC movie.
I see.
And I can kind of see that. There were definitely some scenes that did kind of echo the Avengers kind of feel.
Okay.
Do I think there was enough of that there to justify releasing a different cut of the film? I'm not sure. I'd have to see the other cut.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And maybe that's where people are. Maybe people are like me. They're like, well, I'd have to see it.
Right.
I'm not opposed to seeing it.
Yeah. And again, I haven't been like deep into this, but I have heard enough chatter about the quote unquote Snyder Cut, that, I know there's probably going to be plenty of people who would be, on board to check this thing out. So
Right.
it probably makes it worth doing then.
Yeah, and so I'm a big DC fan as well. I love the characters, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, the great characters, the
Yes.
Flash.
Yes.
I prefer these characters over the Marvel characters. I just do.
Yeah, I'm with you.
They're actual superheroes.
Wow. Hey, careful.
With the exception of Batman.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I am a big DC fan, but I will argue that Batman is not a superhero. He's a rich guy with money that, stops bad people from doing stuff.
Yeah. Superhero. Gotcha.
He's just a hero.
Okay, whatever. Yeah.
Superman's a superhero.
Okay. Yeah.
I take superhero as, a character with,
Powers,
abilities.
I gotcha.
I mean, yeah, Bruce Wayne's smart, but
yeah, and he's got cool gadgets, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, Batman's got the best gadgets, man. I'm sorry, Bruce Wayne. Yeah, he'll kick Tony Stark's ass any day.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm definitely with you there.
But so I where I was going with that before I kind of went off on that, was I enjoyed the Justice League film.
Yeah, so did I.
I didn't think it was perfect,
Right.
but I thought it was enjoyable. It was a good movie. I had fun. I enjoyed it. I didn't have any problem with any of the characters. I thought everybody played their character well.
Yep.
The story was fine. I didn't see any problems. The villain could have been a little more menacing.
Right.
But other than that, I mean, hell, the people love the Iron Man movies, and Whiplash is he's got to be the worst villain in the history of comic book movies. So, or what was his name? The Mandarin.
Right.
The Mandarin was an actual villain in the Marvel universe, and then they just made him a big phony in the Iron Man 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, now to think of it, man, Iron Man movies just suck.
Nice. I love it.
The first one's really the only good one.
That's funny.
But yeah, it's my opinion. It's my opinion. But I didn't see a whole lot of problems here.
Right.
I don't understand the movement for a different cut of the film.
Well, I don't know. Maybe it's just because of the circumstances, and there was a change. Maybe people are, left wondering what if. So, I guess now we're gonna get to find out, right?
Yeah, but I guess what I'm getting at is it's not the first time that people are like, "What if?" Maybe it's the first time that something this big happened with a what if like that, and Twitter was around.
Yeah. True.
Maybe the Clone Wars inspired this.
It's possible. That's very possible.
But yeah, I just, like I said, I'm not opposed to seeing it. I will see it. This will definitely get me to, do a trial of HBO Max, right?
Right. Yeah, for sure.
But it makes me wonder, is this setting precedent? Is this, the success of this will determine this one way or the other, right?
Yeah, you're starting to get me thinking about something here. Because could we be seeing something, we are in the age of streaming services now. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe a movie has its theatrical run, right? Which pretty short lived these days. But then maybe you get studios to say, okay, how do we expand our revenue stream on the same quote unquote product, right?
Yeah.
If you hold
I
on.
get what you're saying.
Let me finish my point because
Okay.
I'm going somewhere.
Well, sorry.
No. But if you have a movie and it was directed by whoever, okay, Steven Spielberg, what if the studio could say, great, and if let's say there was a clamor for, man, that movie was really good. Could you imagine if, just for argument's sake, George Lucas would have directed that or edited that movie? Maybe you could bring in somebody else to put their take on the post-production and see how it would have looked. You get what I'm saying? Because
I mean, it's kind of like that's kind of like doing what they already do with extended cuts and director's cuts.
yes,
So that where you see changes to the film. Typically in the interest of just adding more. But this, you're talking like there'd be some arrangement changes and
getting someone
scene changes,
like their different take on the footage that was shot, and
right.
a lot of the CG and stuff that goes into it after, like, yeah, like how it's a story. We have a story, right? And we have all these visuals, but we all know that the storytelling process goes into post-production, and
right.
This person's take on it might be different from this person's take, and we get to see how those differ, I mean, this might get you to rent, quote unquote, these different versions. It's a way for them to get us to do it twice as opposed to once with the same footage shot,
But like with that comes cost, right?
It would, yeah, some.
So
but not as much.
With the Snyder Cut, I mean, you're talking it's going to take $20 million for them to make this happen.
Is it really?
Yes.
Wow. You wouldn't think so. Wow. So you're talking probably a lot more CG work and stuff on the extended footage.
Yeah. I mean, you're probably talking like there's the stuff that was on the cutting room floor probably wasn't even finished. It wasn't even completely, rendered.
Right.
So now you got to go in and do all that.
Yeah.
And then there's probably some, voiceover work and things like that to do.
ADR stuff. Yeah. Gotcha.
ADR stuff. You probably got ADR stuff to do, background stuff to do.
Right.
They probably got these scenes shot with green screen, and they got to come in and render all this stuff.
Yeah.
So there's costs that go along with this idea.
Well, yes, I get that. I don't know. I kind of like the idea though. Yeah. I mean,
the thing is there's obviously some validity to this movement.
Oh yes.
They went back in, they looked at it, probably sat down with Zack Snyder, found out where he was going.
Right.
And said, yeah, we kind of like that.
Right.
The thing is that they kind of like that, but circumstances at the time did not allow that to happen.
Right.
This is not something that happened because they had creative differences.
Right.
Or something like that. This was, family problems that, took Zack Snyder away from it.
Yeah.
Family tragedy. So you can't fault the creator for that.
No.
And the fact that they're going to back their guy and let him do his vision for something that was already released in one form is actually kind of admirable.
Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. I agree with you, but there's also money to be made in their eyes too. I mean,
Yes. I'm not saying that they're totally not being greedy here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not even greed.
There's definitely some greed involved in that.
It's a business, and the business is there to make money. So, I'm sure that they feel like this is going to be, when you put all the numbers on the spreadsheet, it's going to be in the black, not in the red. So, yeah.
Well, and the good thing about HBO Max and doing it in something like this is the deal was signed. There's a guaranteed bottom line they're going to get out of this.
Right.
So to make that $20 million investment, obviously their return is going to be better. On top of a movie that did not go in the negative,
Right.
It was already profitable.
Yeah.
So to add profits on top of that, why not?
Yeah, definitely.
But like I said, there probably is some fuel there in letting the guy who was taken out of it by circumstances beyond his control, let him put his vision to life.
Absolutely.
Probably some of that in there too.
Yeah. I dig
it. And that's a lot of the reason for the fan movement too, is just, he didn't get to do it.
Right. Yeah.
It's easy to rally behind a guy that didn't get to finish his vision.
Right.
So, and Zack Snyder, like the people who like the DC universe films, I mean, the Zack Snyder ones are up there. Man of Steel was a good film.
Yeah.
Batman vs Superman, whatever you think about Ben Affleck as Batman, whatever.
Right.
Put that aside. It was a pretty good film.
Yes.
Had some story problems, had some real, in my opinion, the main problems for Batman vs Superman were casting of Lex Luthor and the story behind Doomsday.
Right.
That was a kind of wonky way to do Doomsday.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm sorry, Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
I don't see it.
I hear you.
Although I did really like his appearance in the post-credit scene in Justice League. So,
right.
Still couldn't really see him as Lex Luthor though.
Yeah. Yeah. And when it comes to Doomsday, I hate to say it, but I'm a little bit of a purist when it comes to Doomsday, only because, that's when I was reading the books, and that was first run stuff for me, and
right.
Yeah. I don't know.
And then I just watched the animated movie, The Death of Superman.
Right.
And Doomsday's appearance in that. I mean, dude, like Doomsday kicked the crap out of Superman in Batman vs Superman.
Right.
For a short period of time. But there was like 30 minutes of Doomsday kicking the crap out of everybody.
Yes.
In The Death of Superman.
Yes.
Like, they really let you know this was not a bad guy to screw with.
Exactly.
And not one to take lightly. And you actually, like, forgot that, like, well, you're watching a superhero movie. Your superhero is going to prevail.
Yeah.
And this, you were like, man, this is not looking good.
Yes, exactly. Well, it didn't turn out very good.
You forgot that you were watching one that's got to come out victorious for your heroes.
Yeah.
Like, even though he's going to die, the movie's called The Death of Superman.
Yeah.
But he's got to win in the end, even though he dies.
Right. Well, yeah. That's
as winning as you can get out of that.
Exactly.
He makes a sacrifice and wins, right?
That's right.
But yeah, where I'm really headed with this is, you remember in the immediate aftermath of the Rise of Skywalker, there was a lot of call for the JJ cut.
Oh yeah. Yes.
For the cut of the film before the bigwigs got involved, right?
Right.
And then that ended up getting expanded in even further with Colin Trevorrow's cut.
Yeah.
which there was
That's
no
right.
cut. They never filmed that
No.
movie.
No.
But to create that script
Yeah.
for the Duel of the Fates, right?
Right.
So my question is if this is a success, could you see Disney making a similar move with Star Wars? And before you make a decision on that, let's think about the Rotten Tomatoes scores, right? Let's just use Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay.
Okay. So for The Rise of Skywalker, critic score 52%, audience score 86. So more favorable with the audience.
Right.
But for Justice League, it was 40% on the critic score, 71% with the audience score.
Okay.
So one, that throws into question to me, like, where is this noise actually coming from? Because the audience seems to like it.
Yeah.
The critics are the ones that seem to not like it.
Here's the thing about these cuts, right? The Snyder cut, the JJ cut. It doesn't necessarily mean that what they produced in the first place here you thought was bad.
Right.
It's just that you might like what the other version is better. Right?
Right.
I mean,
Which what they're asking for with Star Wars is with the whole JJ cut idea is more of a director's cut kind of film, extended version.
yes. Yeah. Expand on the story, not change it.
Yeah. And okay, yeah, they're calling for, JJ's original ideas on some things. Because there's a lot of speculation that, the bigwigs said, no, it's got to go this way.
That's yeah. I have to say, I could be lumped into that group sometimes with the way it feels that things are going, right? With Star Wars, like there might be the quote unquote powers that be that say they want certain things involved because sometimes it just seems like there's certain things in Star Wars it's like why, but I wonder because I remember hearing rumors that this thing was going to be it was about 20 minutes longer than what we got, right? 15
the
minutes?
first rumors we were talking about was like they didn't know what to do. Make another movie, make a part 1, part 2.
True, that's right. Yeah, well, that was all speculative before, like long before the movie came out. But I'm talking like maybe a month before we got to see it. I was hearing stuff that it was going to be, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes longer than what we actually got. I wonder if
I heard over 3 hours, right? Like,
yeah. Oh, really? For the JJ cut?
yes.
Okay. Interesting. Well, I guess it's one of those things. Rotten Tomatoes scores aside for me, I think for Disney to make a move on something like this, they have to consider it to be something that number one, they feel will benefit the franchise, be profitable, and not shining a negative controversy on the franchise. You know what I'm saying? I guess that goes right along with benefit the franchise, but this with the way things have been in Star Wars fandom as of late, I could see this almost acting as a wedge to just drive apart fandom again. You like the original cut, you like the JJ cut,
Well, that
choose a side.
I will expand on that. Like, I think no matter what you do here with Star Wars, the current divide in fandom, you're just going to completely turn the tables. It's going to be the other side is mad at this side now.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think there's a win here for Disney to do this.
Right.
Especially with the idea of like the whole Trevorrow thing. I think that's way off the deep end.
That's off the table. That's nothing
For
like
sure.
that's going to happen. Yeah.
For sure. Off the table. I mean, you're talking about making a whole nother movie.
Right.
Definitely off the table. Although with like, if it were DC, I could see that happening. Mainly because DC doesn't really care about continuity.
Right.
DC has retold stories in different ways so many times.
Oh yeah. Yeah. They're notorious for it.
You know, they've had plenty of ways to explain that too, with alternate timelines and
Yep.
things like that. Like, so, you know, different dimensions.
Right.
So DC doesn't have the continuity restrictions of Star Wars.
Exactly.
Star Wars is very continuity based.
Yeah.
So the only option here would be an expansion on what is already there.
Yes.
What's already there has to remain intact. They can't change that.
Exactly. And what
But
comes,
they can expand on it.
what the expansion would have to fit inside the canon as well.
Right. I think an expansion of The Rise of Skywalker would be very successful. It is a film that I believe needs more time to breathe.
Oh, sure.
It was a little too jam-packed.
Yes. Yes. I think that if there's one thing that's a consistent complaint for everybody, that's it. That it was a little too much information in too small of a time slot.
Right.
So, I agree with that assessment. And I think, you know, if there's anything unprecedented for Star Wars that would be a positive, that would probably be it. Because, you know, this would probably be the sort of thing, if you could actually produce this with, let's just say the 20 million again that
Right.
they did for Justice League. You could probably do another theatrical release with it and people would go. You'd make that money. For sure.
Well, I mean, I think the special editions prove that, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So there's a market for that.
Yeah.
So would you say Disney's watching this with an interested eye?
They could be. I mean, if they did it right, you know, Disney, this is not unprecedented for Star Wars. You talk about the special editions. That was George messing with his own movies years after they'd been released. You know, it's like he's still tweaking on those movies. He was still tweaking on those movies, and
albeit motivations were different.
What do you mean?
I mean, George's idea behind doing that was, well, at the time he didn't have the technology to do this.
Yes, you know, but he was also telling parts of the story in some cases in a way that he rather wanted them. You know what I'm saying? Right. Like the whole Jabba the Hutt scene in A New Hope, you know, that kind of thing. So he didn't have that technology, but he did shoot the scene. You know, that's
with that. Seeing that scene without the CGI Jabba is really weird.
Yeah, yes.
The guy in the fur vest.
Yes. Yeah, totally.
But the idea when he shot that scene is he didn't know Jabba was going to be this big space slug.
Right. But, you know, I guess the whole point is that he's, or that to expand on the story, later on down the road is not unprecedented. It's been done in Star Wars. It's nothing that's, you know, there's no sacred cow here, you know.
Right. I'd agree with that.
Yeah. I'd totally be all for it. So long as it's an expansion and not a change in story. For sure.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I don't want to see, them trying to remake this story.
Especially if you're trying to lick your fingers, stick it in the air and say, okay, which way's the fandom wind blowing? And let's make it, more appealing to these guys now.
Well, yeah, I mean, because that's obviously they're going to screw that up.
Exactly.
So if you stick to your guns story wise,
right,
and just say, okay, yeah, we want to expand on this. We want to expand on the Emperor.
Yes.
how he was able to survive.
Right.
We want to expand on this idea of a Force dyad.
Yeah, any of that stuff.
We want to add more Lando.
I'd be all for it.
You can do stuff like that. So, but yeah, obviously with Justice League, there's going to be some story changes.
Right.
Because this is one guy's idea of Post versus another.
Yeah.
So there's going to be things that change. Maybe not the ending and the end game, but how you got there.
Yeah. For sure. Could be interesting. I still think we might be looking at new ways to see movies moving forward.
Yeah, I mean,
different versions. You get to see this guy's take and that guy's take.
If it's successful, yes. I think if it's not well received, yeah, that's off the table now.
Yeah.
But if it's well received and considered by fandom to be an improvement,
right?
Then yeah, I could see this being a thing.
Be interesting. I'm kind of excited to see how this works now.
I mean, it'd definitely be interesting. It definitely would be interesting idea for Star Wars, considering how many people they fire.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, hell, sometimes Star Wars can make 3 versions,
Yeah.
But no, I'd agree. With Star Wars, you got just a huge continuity issue that you have to maintain.
That is the thing about Star Wars, right? So expansions on story, when it comes to Star Wars, yes, I'm all for that. Anything that's going to actually change the story, right? I've always said I'm all about story, but so the story must remain the same. You can expand it, but everything that was there needs to be intact for sure.
Yeah, and if you're gonna, make subtle changes or, show that something was a misdirection later down the line, that's fine. That can be done in later stories.
Right.
But the story that is current has to remain intact.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think that's the way they're looking at it as well. I don't think they even consider the idea of changing the continuity of Star Wars with a different cut of a film.
Right.
I think that would create a different kind of riot.
Yeah. All fans against Lucasfilm riot right there. That's
No, I think in any case you're going to appease some fans, right?
Yes. Yeah.
But I think with Star Wars, you're just entering a dangerous territory if you even consider that idea. Because with Star Wars, what happened.
Yep.
It's the way it is.
Yep.
George, even George's changes were never earth-shattering.
Correct.
They didn't change the entirety of the film.
Exactly.
Or the saga, or the franchise, whatever. None of that changed that completely. Any complaints about changes like that are things that George did that went against the EU.
Right.
So that's different.
That is, yeah, it's totally different.
You had canon, and then you had presumed canon.
Right. Yeah. The
It
stuff
had
that,
to be GL level canon.
exactly. The stuff that was considered to be canon until George said it wasn't anymore. Yeah,
Like
for sure.
Korriban.
Yes. Oh, yeah. There we are.
But you think about Korriban, right? Never officially canon.
Right.
Even though it appeared in tons of Lucasfilm properties.
Yep.
Or, I mean, LucasArts, really.
Yep.
But still a division. Look at how many people that made upset.
Oh, yeah.
And it was never officially canon.
Right.
Imagine changing a film.
Yeah. That would be a problem.
There's
Yeah.
no way that you can do that and not step on something that people did like.
Yes. Well, yeah. How many T-shirts have you seen that say Han shot first? I mean, that's
Exactly. And that's minor.
yeah, exactly. That's a
I mean,
small
in the
thing,
grand scheme of things.
right?
I mean, it's minor
Yes.
and McClunky, right? Like,
Yeah. There's that one too.
so yeah, it's a slippery slope, dangerous slope. Extended versions, yes. Changes, negative.
Right.
But I think we are all watching Justice League with great interest.
Yes. It will be interesting to see. That's for sure.
Yeah, I can't believe they're doing it. I'm still shocked. Like I never thought in a million years that a movement like that would gain any legs, and it did.
Well, I think we are heading into a new age of film and television that we're going to see some things happen that many of us never thought we'd see. So we'll see how it works out.
Yeah, the power of Twitter. We are entering the Twitter age of filmmaking.
Yes.
So, yeah, well, if you have anything to add to any of that, you can always email us, show@thewarsandmore.com. It's the best way to get a hold of us. But we're also on social media. We're at The Wars and More on Twitter, Facebook.com/thewarsandmore. You can find all that and all the ways to find a show over at thewarsandmore.com. Any final thoughts, Doug?
No, I think that about covers it.
All right. We will talk next week.